Hi and welcome to Cheeky Richo's How to Make Pork Brawn. Now this is a chilled luncheon meat that you can slice and have with salad. You can have it on crusty bread rolls, you can put it in a wrap, you can just have it big chunks on a plate with some cheese and some pickles. We're using pork hocks here. Now they're the end part of the leg, I suppose. Very strong muscles in there. Very gelatinous. The bone, the skin, the whole lot goes into our pressure cooker. We're going to cook it with a bone that we've already boned out and some skin that we've showed you how to remove in a different recipe. And we're going to cook this until it's falling off the bone, chill it overnight and then skim off all of the fat. We'll be adding our herbs and our other vegetables and whatnot tomorrow. So into our pot of hot water, we drop our pork hocks, bones, skin, a half a teaspoon of cracked pepper and a teaspoon of salt. Now we bring this to the boil, pop the lid on it. Once it's been brought to pressure, we cook it for about 45 minutes and that will loosen all the meat from the bones. It will soften that rind up until it's almost like jelly, and it'll break up that really sort of tough cut of meat and make it so tender and moist and succulent it'll just be like fork tender. So onto the stove, bring it to the boil, and then 45 minutes at medium pressure. Okay, after about 40 minutes, we've given it a good shake during that cooking time. We're just going to force cool this, and I showed you how to do that before in a different video by pouring cold water over the top of the pressure cooker. Okay, after 45 minutes, it's really quite soupy now and very soft. You can just cut through that rind with a silicone spatula. It's that tender. See? Just cuts it in half. So we're going to leave it stand in the fridge to chill overnight, and what will happen is all the fat will rise to the surface, it will solidify, and we'll dispose of that tomorrow, or you could use it for another purpose, but it's not going to be any good left in our brawn. So we just chill this overnight, and this sauce that's here, or this stock that's in here, is full of flavour. It's taken all of the goodness out of the bones and the skin and whatnot. You will find that this broth will actually be like a jelly tomorrow. We're going to solidify it even more by the addition of extra gelatine, and then it'll be a sliceable luncheon meat. So into the fridge we go overnight. Okay, you'll find that after you've cooked it for the initial 45 minutes, you just twist the bones and they come out. They're not attached in any way. You don't even need a fork to get them out. Okay, we've allowed our cooked pork to chill in the refrigerator. We're just going to scrape off all of the fat. You can see and discard it. You can see that the stock is quite gelatinous, and that's because of the inclusion of the bones and the skin and the sinew and whatnot. You scrape this off and dispose of it, because you really don't want to be eating that. Because it's so cold, the fat's solidified and the jelly is just letting it release quite easily. Okay, with most of our fat removed from our brawn mixture, it is time to assemble our ingredients. We have one very finely chopped raw onion. Into a pot we go. I'm just using a non-stick pot, not for any reason other than it's probably an ideal size and it will hold all those ingredients. We've also got some crushed garlic. We're sending that in as well. Fresh or bottled, doesn't really matter. We've got some spring onions. They're going in last thing. We've got some green peppercorns. Now these are the tin variety. They're a little bit expensive, but they really will make the difference. Don't just put whole black dried up little peppercorns in, because they're going to be like little bullets, and these will actually be quite soft and lend a delicious flavour. So a couple of teaspoons of those. Spring onions, last thing. We don't want those all cooked up. And the same with our gelatine. Now just put that to one side. Now we've got a good teaspoon of vegetable salt there. We're going to tip that in as well. Don't be sook with that, because when this is cold things also always lose their flavour a little bit, and you want to have as much flavour as you can to complement the luncheon meat. Good crack of some pepper as well. Even though you've got the little green soft peppercorns in there, this will go all the way through the stock and flavour it at the same time, whereas the little green ones will give you a little bit of a flavour burst when you bite into them. Okay, now we need this to actually solidify so we can slice it. Now as you can see, I can actually slice it now, okay, but it's not really firm enough for a luncheon meat. We need it to be a bit more firm than that, so you can actually slice it and have it on sandwiches. This is really cold. In a picnic or a alfresco dining situation, you will find that this will actually soften as it gets to a bit warmer temperature, and it'll return to its liquid state. We're going to use all of this because the meat is going to have all of the chunks cut off it. So just pull all of your jelly out, pop it in there. It's essentially really an aspic. And we're going to cut our meat up and send it back in there too. Reheat the whole process so that it's well and truly amalgamated with those lovely flavours. Thicken it with some gelatine, add some parsley and shallots, and then put it back in the refrigerator in a mould if you like to chill. So just get all of your meat pieces out. We're going to cut all the bones and fat. I'm leaving the skin on it because I happen to think that it's nice. And continue with the rest. Okay, when you've finished jelly wrestling all the stock off our bones and our meat, we're just going to slice it. Leave the bit of fat that's in there. That will also be extra flavour. Probably you could remove it if you like, but we've taken a lot of the fat out of it, and quite a lot of this is actually sort of connective tissue with plenty of flavour in it. So just cut it into chunks. Don't cut it too small, because when you go to slice it, you'll be actually slicing through it as well, and you don't want it too miserable. So in with everything. Now this is a very economical cut to use. Quite often it's wasted, sometimes it's baked, but more often than not it's sort of not used, which is a real shame because it has plenty of flavour and opportunities to offer. This is quite slippery, so be really very careful that you don't take the knife anywhere near your fingers, because they'll be part of the dish. That's not ideal. We'll slice away from this. Use as sharp a knife as you can muster, because you're more likely to cut yourself badly with a blunt knife because you'll be trying to press down too hard. Being cold, you can get all of the meat off that bone. Now that's not looking too fantastic at the moment, but what we're going to do is just heat this until the sauce is liquid, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients, which aren't too many. What will happen is it'll just sort of all pack down and the meat will be all spangled through that lovely jelly. It will have a tendency to want to float a little bit. If that's the case, just press it down. That's all that you can do. If you've got too much jelly there, you're going to get a layer of meat and a layer of jelly, which isn't going to be best look. We've got a pretty even mix here of our jelly and our meat, so we're just going to reheat that now and finish off our dish. Okay, while our stock and meat is coming to a boil, we've just got a silicone rum barber pan, and we're just going to spray it quite liberally with some olive oil spray. You could just wet the mould if you like, but I think you'll find that it'll release a lot better if you use a light smear of oil. Lightly flavoured, it's not going to be a problem with the dish. Just put that to one side. Now our stock has come to boil and it's been cooking for about 2 minutes. We're just going to remove some of this boiling stock and mix it with our gelatine, and then we're going to dissolve it back into our dish. It's better to do this first because you could end up with lumps of gelatine, which is not ideal. So just get some of your stock out, dissolve it thoroughly, and return it to the dish. You don't want any solid lumps of the gelatine in there. It's really boiling hot. Any of the lumps you do see there are what's already present in the stock. Now this looks like a significant amount of gelatine given the amount of setting agent that was naturally present in our stock. But when you go to slice this, you'll hit a soft bit of the jelly, and then you'll hit a hard bit of the meat, and what it's going to do is going to drag the meat down and make it look really ugly. The firmer you have that gelatine, let's face it, gelatine is really good for you. It's good for your hair and your skin and your fingernails. The firmer the set, the more readily and easier it is to cut. So we just send all that back in there now. It'll dissolve in. You can see there's no powdered gelatine left at all. You want to soak this straight away because it'll set like a gummy bear or something. And now we've got our spring onions. Now we've just used a little tiny new shoot spring onions, so they're not so tough and not too strongly flavoured, because they're not actually going to be cooked. They're going to be mixed through this hot liquid and give it the flavour that it wants. And then we've also got tiny little tips of parsley. So that goes in too. Same thing, not going to be cooked. It's just going to give it a really nice fresh garden feel. And that, once you've stirred it all around and incorporated all that gelatine and stock, is done. Now we just ladle our mixture into our prepared mould, cover it with some cling film, and pop it into the fridge to completely set. Okay, there's our brawn tipped into our ring mould, and we're just going to allow that to cool a bit before we pop it into the fridge so it doesn't cook everything in the fridge as well. Cover it, and once it's completely chilled, which will be several hours because it's quite a volume there, and we're going to slice it and have with some crusty bread, some cheese and some pickles. I bet you can't wait. Allow that to cool, and into the fridge we go. Okay, here's our brawn. It has thoroughly chilled, and you can see it is quite solid. You can't tip that out on its own. So we're just going to loosen the edges and then upend it onto our serving plate with some lovely pickles, some crusty fresh bread and some cheese, and have it with a bottle of wine. I hope you enjoyed this little cooking demonstration of Cheeky Richo's homemade brawn luncheon meat. You can see it's really quite separate now. Don't worry about the little bit of fat that's on the top of that, because that'll actually stick to the plate and it won't even be served. So just upend that now. There you have it. Doesn't that look delicious? There's our butter, our crusty loaf of warm bread. Break that in half so it fits, and that's ready to serve. Thank you very much for watching. Okay, let's cut this baby and see what it looks like. Really quite firm. A little bit of our homemade butter on our crusty bread roll. And check that out. Lovely and firm. Have it with our pickles. It's delightful. Thank you very much for watching. Taste, shall we? Gorgeous flavours. Perfect for a picnic. Thanks for watching.